Plan Commission regular meeting for September 18th, 2024. Would invite all those that are able to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get the roll call, please?
Joe Gomez-Tegel.
Present.
Pete Clarderis is absent. John Gill.
Here.
Bob Valoy.
Here.
Russ Vogel is absent. Justin Nestor.
Present.
Colin Emschway.
Present.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
John Dykstra.
Here.
Bill Manisopoulos is absent. Ashley Abernathy is present.
We have a quorum. Agenda item 4, minutes. Review and approval of the August 21st, 2024 regular meeting minutes. I assume everyone's had the chance to review them. Any questions, comments? If not, would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 21st, 2024 minutes.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, September 4th, 2024 study session minutes. Would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Bloy, second by Mr. Emschway. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Agenda item 5, old and new business. Item A, 2024-06, Franciscan, request for final plat and site plan of Franciscan Health St. John Medical Center, located on the east side of US Highway 41, approximately 975 feet south of the intersection of 101st Place and US Highway 41, zoned C2. Franciscan Alliance, Mr. Willie.
Good evening. Mr. Weiser, my law partner, is unavailable, so I'm pinch hitting for him today. As indicated, we're asking for final plat approval today. We were very pleased this afternoon to receive the satisfactory letter from your engineer, Mr. Dykstra, this afternoon. We had discussions with Ashley about delivering the development fee to try and get it in, but we're out of Michigan City. We're going to try and get that overnighted tomorrow. It'll be overnighted for receipt by Ashley on Friday morning, that development fee of just $32,446.63. Franciscan will choose to do with the surety bond for the amount listed by Engineer Dykstra of $871,319.48. With us tonight, Ms. Tortolano is here from Ton and Blank, as well as our engineer, Alex Stevens. If there's any other technical questions that are brought up by the board or through your engineer, but otherwise we're just asking for final plat approval this evening.
So, Plan Commission, before you make any determination on the plat approval, I do need to advise you there has been a change from the preliminary plat that was approved to the final plat. The original preliminary plat had this section platted as part of it. However, yesterday it was found out that section is not part of the town. If you look on GIS here, where this green line is, it is showing as not in town boundary lines. As soon as we found this, we messaged the petitioner. We had a meeting afternoon, and they have removed that section from the plat. In the preliminary plat, it was just called out as a legal drain easement. It wasn't anything they were going to build on. Nothing was ever going to be in here. They're now leaving it just as a legal drain that is not going to be part of the property. It would be the determination of the Plan Commission if this is substantially compliant with what has been presented for the primary.
And that's the petitioner's position, is it is in substantial compliance. It's a very minor change. There was no plan to use that at all. It was already an existing ditch. There'll be no, development of that sliver. So as a result, we believe we're in substantial compliance with the original plat, so it's not a major change that would require anything, a refiling or anything of that matter.
Does that, Mr. Dykstra, does that change anything from your perspective?
No, he's correct in saying that there's no development that was ever planned on that, so it doesn't change anything with their engineering plans.
From the town's perspective, does that,
It's
is it technically unincorporated?
It is technically unincorporated. If it had remained on and we sent that to county, we would have gotten a very angry call from county. Because we are not able to, we cannot and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this one, legally plat something that is not within our jurisdiction. So by them removing it, that's the better option.
And having not encountered this, Mr. Decker, do they need to try to annex that into the town, or how would that work?
No, I don't believe that's required. If it's not part of the plat of subdivision, it will remain owned by Franciscan or its related entity. But it's not required to be annexed. It can be simply a parcel of land that is contiguous to the platted subdivision. So, no, I don't think there's any requirement for annexation. I would also add, just as this hearing today was carried over from last month, so technically the hearing remains open. So I think at some point before the board or the Plan Commission makes any consideration, it should call for any comments and then close the public hearing before any vote is taken.
I think it was BZA.
Oh, that was the BZA?
Yeah, this is final plat and site plan.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was, that's right, I misspoke, Ashley's corrected me, that was a BZA matter, as I recall.
A couple months ago, we did generally continue the public hearing, I think, throughout 2 or 3 meetings.
Yeah.
But I think it was eventually closed.
Okay.
From our perspective.
And I think that's correct.
Okay,
I believe that's correct.
all right. So we're good on that. Anyone else, questions, comments?
I have
Yes.
a quick question. Because this is part of the plat, do any changes need to be made to the plat? Are there any notes that need to be made to it?
They've been made already.
They have been made? Okay,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
my only
My
concern.
surveyor reviewed it, and it's been cleared.
Fantastic, that was my only concern.
Basically, just to remove that sliver,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Well, the only question, I think, is it a major or minor change to the, what would have been the primary plat, right? Because if it's minor,
If it's minor, we can continue on, and if it's major, they would have to re-advertise for primary, I believe.
so I think that's the question for everybody up here.
I mean, I see it as a minor change because you didn't highlight the sliver and you just drew the property line of the lot of the subdivision back some and took less land. So I mean, and nothing, no building pad, parking, drainage, nothing would ever been done with that anyway, whether it was included or not. So I mean, I don't think it's major in the grand scheme of the development on that lot. That's my opinion.
I tend to agree, and because it's been documented, I feel as though we're being very clear about what's happening, and it's being entered into the record. Of course, if Mr. Decker has any insight on this, I'm all ears.
No, I think the only thing I would add is that the subdivision control ordinance provides that approval of primary plat shall entitle the subdivider to final approval of the layout shown by such plat, provided the secondary plat conforms substantially to the layout in the primary plat. In my opinion, it does. I don't think this, in my legal opinion, I believe the final plat or the secondary plat that's being considered does substantially conform to the primary plat, and so therefore, you may act on
Not like
secondary plat.
trying to cut it in half or turning the whole, Yeah.
And the only reason it was included, as the board is probably aware, is Franciscan bought all of that land, unaware that that sliver was not annexed in. So that's why it was on the original plat. If we had known that it had not been part of the annexation, it would have been included on that original plat that was filed.
Okay.
But again, it's simply a minor change.
So, as far as the BCA is concerned, just that little section is what we need to look at?
No, that wouldn't
The
even be,
BCA has nothing,
no, the BZA wouldn't have anything to do with that portion. Their requests were dealing with the landscaping area of the area that they will be landscaping, a thing along the southern boundary. What the changes on this plat has no bearing on what's in front of the BZA.
And that sliver that's been removed, Joe, is not in town, so technically our ordinances don't govern that sliver because it's under Lake County's jurisdiction as unincorporated land.
we don't have authority to do anything with that. The question is, can we approve the rest of it, knowing that that part's being cut out of their plan? All right, questions, comments? If not, I think I would Chair would entertain a motion for the petitioner's request for final plat and site plan. Is that 2?
I would do them separately. I do the final plat first because we're gonna have a contingency or two on the site plan.
I'll make a motion to grant final plat approval for Franciscan's Lot 1.
I'll second that.
Motion for final plat by Mr. Gill, second by Mr. Emschway. Any further questions, discussions on the motion? If not, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then the second one would be motion for site plan approval with the conditions being, I would assume,
So
Ms.
the,
Abernathy, payment of the development fee and the surety bond?
payment on, we can add the surety bond on this one, but BZA, contingent on BZA approvals. Because that got deferred to their October 2nd meeting. So because what they're requesting variances from is landscaping requirements, boundary, fence along the southern boundary, parking in the front yard setback. There's one other, because there's a total of 5 that they're requesting. All those deal with the site plan, so any approval contingent upon BZ approvals.
And the surety bond?
Yep, and development fee paid.
Okay. All right, so the motion at this point would be styled as approval of the site plan contingent on payment of the development fee, the surety bond, and the 5 matters that are pending before the BZA.
I'd like to make a motion to approve said site plan contingent upon approval from BZA, payment of surety bond, and all other items.
Motion by Mr. Emschway, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valoy. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And with that, I believe you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item B, 2024-22 Wall Street North subdivision. Request for site plan for Lot 1 of the Wall Street North subdivision for DMK Senior Care Facility located at the northwest corner of Wall Street and Wicker Avenue, zoned C2. Mr. Huss, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. We're here, David Hediger, Executive Vice President for DMK, is also on the line if there are any questions later, but we are here to request site plan approval for what I think is a very exciting project, a big investment, I think nearly $17 million in the town of St. John. On Lot 1, the largest lot of the recently approved Wall Street North subdivision, DMK Development intends to construct a 109-unit assisted living facility, varying levels of care, assisted living from fully independent units, assisted living units, and then the eastern portion of the building, I believe on the first floor, is their memory care wing. Obviously, the subdivision has come before the Plan Commission in very recent meetings. We were just here for a study session 2 weeks ago. We have received both our SWIP and our general engineering approval. We have responded to all comments received recently from police and fire. So I think we're pretty buttoned up as far as questions go, but I'd be happy to answer any more if the commission has any. But as you said, I don't want to belabor the point. I think we've been here a handful of times. I think the Plan Commission is well informed. And we're here to hopefully get this project off the ground. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? No?
I can advise the commission that the development fee and SWIP fee were paid.
Make a motion to grant site plan approval to Wall Street North subdivision, Lot 1.
Motion by Mr. Gill, is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Mr. Emschway. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item C, request to release performance surety escrow fund. Request to release the performance surety escrow fund in the amount of $11,286.00 as requested site improvements have been completed.
So at the St. John Dental and Oral Surgery surgeon place over by Park Place, they had to post an escrow because when they went in for their development, instead of getting the transform box required, they put a above ground pole. So they had to put in that money in for pretty much saying that they would get the transformer installed and that pole removed. The pole has been removed at this point in time and the transformers are installed. I have they submitted those pictures. So at this point in time, the request is that the escrow be released, and this would be a recommendation to the town council to release that fund.
All right, anyone questions, comments?
I'll make a favorable recommendation that the town council release the performance surety in the amount of $11,286 for St. John Oral Surgeons.
Motion for favorable recommendation by Mr. Gill. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valloy. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And that's that. Item D, amendment to the Plan Commission rules and regulations.
Plan Commission, we have seen this multiple times at this point in time. This is the final step in the change to our public hearing process. This just has our rules and regulations mirror what we now have by way of zoning ordinance, making the one newspaper, adjacent property owners, and publishing all notices on the town's website.
Is this the last of the housekeeping on this?
This is the last of the housekeeping.
Okay.
Last time I'll talk about it, I promise.
Do we have a resolution?
We do. The resolution number is going to be PC 2024-09-18.
Okay. Yeah, I just confirmed with Ashley, we prepared a written form of resolution just to make the adoption of the new rules and regulations.
So it would be a motion to approve PC 2024-09-18.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments from anyone? This one's pretty straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve PC 2024-09-18.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gill, second by Mr. Gomezego. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are done with that one. Item 6, public comment. No one is here. That's good. Item 7, adjournment.
Excuse me, before we, I'm sorry. There's, when we approve, we have 4 statements to make, with the facts of finding. And there's some terms there that are kind of a little bit loose, not loose, but just the definition would be too broad sometimes if you look at them. I'd like to see if somehow our council can interpret those so we could kind of look at our definition to the facts, finding of facts.
I think those are set by statute.
Yeah, those are
Okay,
state, Joe.
But if they are state, then still, I mean, that's their state, or whether they're federal. I think the point is that somebody could give us a definition as to what do they mean by a statement of for the common good or for the best interest of the neighbors, the neighborhood. Because I'm finding a lot of people are coming up and saying, well, I invested so much money into this house, and now they're going to put this other thing in our yard, and that is part of the people in the neighborhood complaining, saying that our prices may drop. So those definitions are sometimes
Those definitions, those criteria and the finding of fact, Mr. Decker can correct me if I'm wrong, but if those are set by statute, then what this body's job and responsibility is to determine within those criteria whether the evidence that we hear through public hearings and, things that are submitted, if those conform or do not conform with those findings of fact. So you have to look at those and say, I'm swayed one way or another by this or this, and then you vote
no, and
accordingly.
I agree with
So
you.
I don't know that they're set to be defined. Our task is to be fact finders and determine whether
But
the applicant is in line with those findings, and or those criteria. And if they're not, then we make a decision accordingly, but it's up to each individual member of this plan commission.
To find out if they meet those standards.
For or, in
For-
favor
for-
or against, correct.
So it would be our definition to meet those standards, our own, each and every single body member here. And I
Or-
think that, go ahead.
Or I would say, I think, to paraphrase, please correct me if I'm wrong,
No.
to use those statutes as as an instrument in interpreting, to then make approval or recommendations.
So, for example, I pulled up the findings of fact for a preliminary plat development. You have to determine if the plat does or does not provide the acceptable established minimum width, depth, and area lot of the subdivision, in so much as it does or does not meet the minimum requirement of the St. John zoning ordinance. Now, if they have a planned unit development, you're looking at it, is everything on their plat meeting what is in their planned unit development? That it provides for acceptable minimum provisions for building separation, vehicle circulation, parking, compatible site improvement signage, and does it meet the minimum requirements of the zoning ordinance?
Right.
Does it provide for coordination of the subdivision streets and entrances with other subdivisions and streets? So is it providing connectivity from one subdivision to the other? Can you get from, say, Three Springs down to Klein? I think I'm messing my subdivisions up, but that's the essential. Are you providing that connectivity? Or from Mill Creek to Klein, if and anything comes in to the east of Mill Creek, is something going to provide that connectivity? So that's what that one's talking about. That it provides for coordination of extension of facilities and included in the comprehensive plan. So are they extending the appropriate sanitary sewer, water, storm facilities? And that's a lot of times what Bob Valoy and John Dykstra look at, and they say, and they work out with the petitioner a lot of those comments on the back. And so by the time that we get to a substantial letter from Mr. Dykstra, we have them improving the infrastructure as required with our comprehensive plan. That is providing for the schools, streets, parks, semi-public, public, and all, that this is what they are required to meet. So if they're meeting all of these,
Yeah, but.
it would be an approval.
And these aren't just at a public hearing, Joe. This is what we're supposed to be doing with study sessions.
Right.
When you tell the petitioner feedback at their first study session, day one, you're thinking of these 7 in the back of your mind.
Right.
And you're saying, well, I think you should make the lots wider, or I should make you this, and
Well-
take out the cul-de-sac, or whatever. So that you're working towards, when the public hearing comes in, you've already got all those in a line.
Well, for instance, number 4, and I agree with what you're saying, that we should look at that, but what I was trying to find out here is that, number 4, for instance, that the plot does or does not provide the coordination with an extension of facilities included in the comprehensive master plan, including appropriate sanitary sewer, water, and stormwater facilities. Each time there is a subdivision that's going to be formed, there's a certain amount of sanitary, water, and stormwater facilities that we need to start to think out loud in this room for the general.
The town's already working on all that. We're working on more wells, and they're working on expansion at the sewer plant up in Sherville.
That's what,
It's already planned. It's already being worked on.
Yeah, we purchased.
So as long as they're-
We're
as long
purchasing
as their
10%
plat-
more capacity at the sanitary plant in Sherrville.
all right, in Sherrville.
Yeah, we don't have our own plant. We send it all to Sherrville.
So, my question would be, so you're saying that Sherrville has good capacity for St. John, even though it's growing at this state, at this
Yes,
capacity?
yes.
It has enough for it, and we're not paying, how much are we paying for that?
For the extra 10% capacity, I don't know what the price
So,
is.
so
Joe.
that, those are the things that, because eventually they come back to, and I'm not speaking for the town council, I'm just speaking for the general public. I think that what they're coming, when there's something like that, that there's a 10% increase in the sewage, it's gonna come back to the general public here who have been living here long enough that saying, wait a second, how come our sewer or our water is increasing?
Sure, but that's why we have water meetings, waterworks meetings, and we have sanitary board meetings and.
Waterworks
and-
meeting.
Right.
But one of the things I want to make sure is that the general public, for instance, in here, nobody's here today, but even at the planning, at our study session, people that were up there, they didn't know that, and they would actually come up to us and tell us that they elected us, to a point that they need to understand that we're not elected, we're appointed, but we need to have them understand how the process works. And I agree with you, what you're all saying. I'm not disagreeing with this, the whole setup. I'm just trying to figure out the terms that they use there so that the general public will come out here and speak. Maybe they could understand what we're looking at here, what decisions we have to make. Because sometimes I feel that we're making decisions based on some unknown idea.
But you have an engineer reviewing the plans and writing letters that we're supposed to be reading before the meeting that are emailed to
You're
you.
right, I'm not saying that. As far as you and I are
That's where
concerned,
we're not seeing everything behind the scenes, but then there's reviews done behind the scenes that,
for us,
correct.
but the general public is what I'm trying to, who come here, who had a big, at the last audience we had in our study session, it was a pretty hefty one. Maybe we could probably read this out to them and say, listen, this is the way it works, and this is what we have to do.
And
Rather than-
Joe, I understand what you're saying and where you're going with this, but that is also why, like I said, we have waterworks and sanitary meetings, and I actually am doing that as part of my water board meeting in November, is justifying and educating them with the capacity and what we do have.
That is.
But they have to attend the waterworks meeting, they won't find that at the plan commission.
But perhaps if we could all talk together, I mean,
Sure.
the presidents of the board meeting of the water board and everybody understand that they could get together, we could provide the public a setting so they could understand this process. This is a well-informed community, and I'm pretty sure that if they come here because they're upset somebody's gonna build a pole barn behind their yard, they're willing to come up here to understand the issues that are in front of us, not all the time, but at least to understand how we work this decision-making.
There's many times when things are coming up for public hearings, they come in to ask to view the plans, and John can attest to this. When I spend, on average, every time they come in, 10, 15 minutes or better discussing the plans with them, what the plan commission does their decision-making on, the findings of facts, what the criteria is, what all the petitioner has to prove, because it's the petitioner's job to prove to the board that they have met all these.
Right.
And that's part of what they do when they do the plans and sending it to us for us to review and say that it is in compliance with our comprehensive plan. It is in compliance with their zoning ordinance. It is in compliance with our subdivision control ordinance. That's what a lot of stuff that John does behind the scene. What I do behind the scenes is when these plans come in, reviewing it, making sure it's meeting your guys' requirement, making sure it's meeting our minimum standards. He's looking at it, the engineering, making sure it's meeting all engineering standards and requirements, so that way when I'm creating these staff reports that I'm creating for you now, that I am including information like that, or any information that, like DMK, they had all their variances that were needed prior to that project. That way you have that information in front of you, so you have everything that you need to make an informed decision.
And I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I said that before. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the information you sent us through email 2 or 3 days prior to the meeting is valuable for us to make the decision, and we base it on the criteria that we have here. The interesting part is that, unfortunately, people don't attend all these little meetings that we have, which is sad. It is sad.
Right.
But there comes a time that if we could kind of get together with some of the board meetings and explain to the general public, this is what we have to go through. And perhaps instead of them coming over complain, they could come back in here and say, what can we do to help this soften up the problems? Like, for instance, on 231, that's a state road. 41, that's a state road. There's nothing we could do. Well, we talked to INDOT. Who did you talk to INDOT? That's what I would ask, okay? And they would come up, well, I just talked to somebody at INDOT. Well, send us some information. Then we could actually ask the developer, like I asked the last time, I said, have you talked to somebody, the state representative, to help you either widen the road or talk to somebody at INDOT? That's what the state representative and the state legislator has. Go ahead.
Please
I'm
finish.
sorry.
Please finish. No, please finish your thought.
That's all I want to do, so that the general public, instead of getting frustrated, they know, oh, wait a second, they're not coming out here and spending an hour and 5 minutes, just go, oh, okay, well, less than an hour, 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, boom, because we already studied it, so they know what we've done. And they will understand it. Instead of, I'm hearing people coming to me at the grocery store, go, you could just, guys, run this through everything. I go, we work on these things prior to
Well,
making
members of the public may
decision.
not understand, there's been 6 meetings or public sessions.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Sessions leading up to that, and because of the public notice requirements for the hearing, that's when they all come crashing in here. But the process has already been playing out in a linear fashion up until that point. It just comes to a head. So, how do you get members of the public to come out to every study session or every meeting when, it's not up for a hearing to voice their concerns? I don't know how you do that.
It is tough, and I'm not saying that it isn't. Maybe somehow, when we have a rowdy bunch of people coming up here just to complain, maybe that's a time that we need to highlight, this is what we go through.
I think that is essentially what the public comment hearings are for, is to create a point of engagement in which they can voice their concerns. And if their concerns are, we hear a lot of times, oh, we don't have water capacity. That's when we can take the opportunity to say, actually, we do, and here's why. Or, I don't agree with this for X, Y, and Z. And that's our opportunity to educate, because unfortunately, you can't get the public you cannot force the public to engage if they don't have the desire to. They will find a time in which it is important enough to do so. And that in these hearings is when, if we have that single point of engagement, that's our responsibility, in my mind, to provide that. And that's what we're trying to do.
And if during the course of a public hearing, any member of this commission is so swayed by public comments that they feel like, that those comments or those facts are not supportive of a favorable recommendation for the findings of fact, then any member is free to vote how they want. It doesn't have to be unanimous. It has to be a majority. So that's how the process is designed to work.
I understand the process. I just wish they would understand it, so that it just requires one little small lesson, class lesson, as to what we're going to do here today and what we have, and just once a year. I mean, we don't need to do it every meeting, just once a year, so that the people that come in and start, talking, which is engaging, it's good, but at least they know the rules of engagement. That's all. So they're not looking at every single one of us in here and saying, well, my gosh, he favors that developer, or he or she. That's not the way we do things in here. That's why I just want to make sure I cut to the chase with the general public. As far as we're concerned, I know that Bob, you, and everyone in here takes time to read everything and look at the decisions that need to be made. That's all. I think that the general public needs to know that too. Because I see them come in here, and it's pretty annoying when you sit here, you spend hours and they're engaging when they're not following the rules of engagement that we have to follow. Although, we could listen to that doesn't fit in this category. Out. So I can't vote for that. Or yes, it does fit in that category. I could say that. But they have to at least have a little rules of engagement so they're not frustrated. Does that make sense? I know I can understand it. I know you do, and I know every single one of us understands that. But I think the frustration comes from the general public that they don't know how to address it. I mean, you have a sheet there. This is what they're going to have to vote for. This is what they have to go through that a state mandates. That's all. If we could have a sheet for them, so if they pick it up there, this is what they have to go through for this project. And it's already, you're here on the third date, on the third proposal. That's all. I mean, sometimes it's annoying when people show up, it's Johnny come lately, and try to blast for everything that we've been working very hard to make a decision, a sound decision, the best decision that we can. And all of a sudden Johnny comes lately, and they don't even follow the rules of engagement. But if you give them the sheet and say, this is what we have to approve it by, and this is the stage, Just something like that. Do we have that in the office there so they can pick it up?
I mean, all of our findings, facts are part of public record. They're welcome to submit a request to receive copies of them, but no, I don't have anything like that that's available in the office. I'm not sure of any building or planning department in the area that has something. I could reach out to some of my other planning contacts and see if they're familiar with anything, but I'm not familiar with any building and planning department having anything like that available.
But I think a good example is Castle Rock that came before us a couple months back where they wanted to add the 5 lots next to the existing homes and all the homeowners came out.
Right.
And when you look at the findings of facts that Ashley had for the plat, it met all those. It met the minimum size requirements, setbacks, everything for our zoning ordinance. And Mr. Decker explained to the
Right.
crowd of people, but I don't know that it was accepted well. But I mean, that was us taking the time to explain to that group of people that came out opposing the 5 lots, saying that they shouldn't be approved and whatnot. And again, when you look at the findings of fact, the primary plat met those, so we did approve it, and the legal counsel supported our decision with saying that, you know, it meets all that, you know. So again, I feel like if people in the community have their mindset against something, whether you have something in writing or you tell them in person at a meeting like this, I think they can take the information as they will, and whether they absorb it and accept it or not is kind of up to an individual basis.
Could you bring up the findings of fact again? You brought them up a few seconds ago. Something like this, just a sheet like that. Even if you set it up there on the day that we're going to approve, is that this is what, if you pick up the sheet there, ma'am, or anyone, this is what we have to make sure that it covers.
Depending on how many items are on the docket, that would be a lot of papers to print. I mean, on average, well, but then they're gonna say there's only one copy. And why is there not enough copies for everybody in the audience?
I mean, just how many, this is just one sheet, I'm saying.
For the plan commission, I think there's, for the BZA, there's 3.
There's 3.
For the plan commission, there's
7.
7 to 9 different finding of fact forms. So, or another alternative is when you're making an approval, when you're, for example, when you did Franciscan tonight, you could have done approved based on the findings of fact that it does,
And then read them all off.
and then read them all off.
Yeah, that's the only way, and I mean, Joe's point is well taken, but I don't think you can do one session a year where you do that, because everyone's gonna be different. Every hearing is going to be different. Every crowd that comes for each individual hearing is going to be different. So you'd have to read them every time, so.
And we've done study sessions in the past where we did like a training of the BZA and or the Plan Commission, and invited the public, and nobody really typically shows up to them. And I know when Sergio was here, we even brought in an outside trainer from, I think she was from Muncie or somewhere south of here. And again, it was open to the public just like this, and there was the same size crowd as we have now.
It's available on YouTube if anybody wants to watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the thing, is that people want to be involved in the process, but they have to be involved in the process.
That's it. And that's it, they have to be in the
And-
process from day one.
But we cannot involve them we cannot make them do it. And so,
Force
and so the information is out there. It is, if they want to be a part of it, it behooves them to go and seek it out.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, we're just trying to do
I
something.
mean, there's other avenues too. I mean, the clerk treasurer puts out our agenda usually a couple days before, and it, you know, on her Facebook page. So the information's out there, what is up before this commission on any given meeting. So, I mean, that's the public's opportunity to come in, and, you know, there's public comment is an agenda item on every single meeting. Whether they want to come and speak to, you know, something, whatever they want to speak on, so.
And we do usually get, once the mailings go out and whatnot, or the sign gets posted on the property, we get a steady stream of people in the office Monday through Friday asking, why is there a sign on this parcel? What's it for? What are they gonna do? And we print them and show them the plans and tell them take them home and share them with their neighbors, and anybody else can come in and stuff and whatnot. So we do have a good dialogue going throughout the week with people that either get the mail or see it in the paper or see the sign posted on the parcel coming in to ask what's going on, so.
I just
People
tried
got a letter, text me like, what's this? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I agree that you're looking to, try to,
minimize some.
yeah.
I'm just trying to make it easier for the general public, but, whoever comes over here upset madder than heck, and all of a sudden we show them, this is what we've done the whole entire week. And they may not even come to you because, gosh, I don't know why, okay?
Yeah.
And you get those. If we have something available for them real quickly, here, this is what we did today. There it is. Follow those rules. This is what we have to do. So I think maybe I'm talking out of turn. I just want to make sure, make the general public feel at ease. And I know you do a lot of work. I know you do. I know both of you do, because I've seen it, and I've sent them over here. Go talk to them. They'll give you the direction. But at the meetings, sometimes they'll come over here after 6, 7 o'clock. They're madder than heck because of whatever happened at work, and now they're going to take it out on me. But no, so that's why I want to make sure, see if we can kind of break it down to make it easier for them to understand. But you're right, if you think we're wasting.
I mean, if
all.
the plan commission would like, what I could start doing is at the beginning of or when I'm setting up the meeting room before our public hearings, I could have a copy of the findings of fact for every one of you, or one between every two of you, so that when a motion is being made, you could, again, with Franciscan, you could say approve with the findings of fact that A to Z, what the findings of fact are, what they are meeting, or denying it based on the findings of fact and what they are not meeting. That way, it's on public record what findings of facts that you felt the petitioner has provided those facts are, that they've met, that they have gone through the whole process, that they have made every effort to meet our criteria, meet our requirements, and have met all those findings. Or no, there has been substantial information presented with way of public hearing that has disproved one of those findings, and this is why you're denying it, because it no longer meets that.
From a process perspective, I mean, if you want to give me a copy of those with my agenda before the public hearings, I can then read those,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Right.
And then, so then when the people are here on an individual
I like
basis,
that.
I can say, I can just say, these are the findings of fact that we're going through to make a, thumbs up or thumbs down type of analysis on each one of those. If you want, you can put it up on the screen so members of the public that are here can see it as well. We're not gonna hand out 100 copies to
No,
people when they come in.
Yeah.
Just
you know,
something-
But we, Joe wants me to read more, so I'll read more.
No.
But,
We can take turns,
But I think it may be helpful, like I said, or like Joe said, as far as setting some of the ground rules, or not ground rules, but criteria that we're looking at, and then public comment needs to, be germane to any of those. We can, try to maintain order that way too, so I'll step up, but.
Cool.
Thank you for reading. No, we can even take turns. You can say, okay, it's gonna be your turn. No, but that would be nice.
They gave me the gavel, I got stuck with it. All right.
Go ahead quickly. before I
Motion
say
to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.